Today I want to talk about Jung Kook talking about his privacy and his stalkers. I also want to get into some people believing that Jung Kook and Rosé from BLACKPINK were spotted together, and then I wanted to get into a member possibly not doing a solo album anymore. So hey dumplings, it's Dave Desai, hater or not, make sure you're subscribed with the notification bell on. Grab your dumplings, hey Spilling Muck merch, and let's go. It seems like a lot of groups currently are doing a solo debut or a solo career. One difference between a group in America that may decide to go solo versus one in Korea is that a Korean group will go solo, but that doesn't mean that the group has disbanded. However, that is a completely foreign and strange concept in America, as when one member goes solo, it doesn't take a very long time before all the other members decide to go that route. Americans, including myself, can tend to have a more individual mindset as opposed to in Asia, it's a collective mindset. So we tend to be a bit more selfish. This is general, of course. And so when it comes to groups, it'll usually be the strongest member that leaves first, and then the rest of the members that are left usually don't carry the group as well without that one member, and so the group eventually disbands. Whereas in K-pop, the strongest member doesn't always want to leave, and maybe even the label will try to make sure the strongest doesn't leave. So it becomes a very interesting topic of conversation and a cultural shift when people realize this, and that a member doing a solo is not a death sentence, so the fandom welcomes the solo albums and stuff. Out of all the members of BLACKPINK, the only one that has yet to do a solo album is Jisoo. She did have a bit of a solo career with her acting on the K-drama Snowdrop, and people were expecting music, but to be honest, it seemed like she was not interested in singing as much as acting, and even at the time refused to do the soundtrack for the show. However, people are still expecting her to do music, and I think this ended up being a big topic of conversation of when she might pursue that. Well, apparently during a recent interview with Rolling Stone, they brought up that she was the only member left to do something like that and asked what her plans are and what fans can expect for 2023. Jisoo said that she was very confused and didn't know if she wanted to go solo yet. She has no idea what music to choose from and what style. She said she had no idea if she should be rock or have a band, and she loves songs with instruments. And most importantly, she added that she has no idea what people are wanting of her. People respond all the time to say, just make whatever you want. But let's be honest, if a pop artist comes out and makes country music, we have living proof of that not working out. But why would they go and make country music? Well, because that's the music they actually like. It just doesn't make any money for them, so they make pop music. That's just a silly example, but it's true. This is the most difficult thing for artists and anyone who creates something. I'm just going to be very candid here, because a lot of the time, not all the time, obviously, but people don't know what they want. It's happened numerous times where the audience is like, we want this, and then the artist does it only for it to make the select people who asked for it happy, but it does nothing on the charts, and maybe doesn't even do well as the artist's other stuff. You can also imagine for someone like Jisoo, there would be a lot of pressure from labels that if she decides to release anything, it needs to go #1, since the label is expecting to make back some of the money they put into the album. It seemed like this could be Jisoo's way of saying either the album is cancelled or will never happen, or it seems like it could be a way to say that the album will be pushed much further down the road. But I like that we could potentially have more solo stuff to get to know all of the members better. We get to know them more personally and in a good way. We get to know them in the way that they would prefer us to see them as, and of course, not in a stalker way. The best way we currently do that is through social media and watching what the boys post. However, Jung Kook has been away for a bit. He hasn't posted an Instagram photo in many months, and people have just been wondering where he has been. There's been rumors of people spotting him on the street, and honestly, y'all, I need to say this. Quick PSA, not every Korean man with a bucket hat is Jung Kook. Obviously, if there are some photos that appear like Jung Kook, then we have comments saying that the person who took the photo is a sasaeng or stalker. Obviously, stalkers are a concern for Jung Kook, and people believe this is why Jung Kook has opted for not being on social media. I think it's understandable that Jung Kook wouldn't want to post. Every post causes these little mini dramas and definitely makes headlines. But also, he wants his feed to look good, so he doesn't want to just post whatever. But Jung Kook Jungkook's history with social media is that he will hop on Korean social media like VLive, which is no longer active, and do a live stream, but then during the stream he will get a phone call from someone he doesn't know. And he once said this during a stream to say that this actually happens very often for him. What stalkers will do, if you are unaware, is get Jungkook's phone number from somewhere. Maybe they buy it from the staff that works with the boys, and then instead of calling at that time, they'll wait for a live stream. Because if they call normally and Jungkook does not pick up, it can possibly not be Jungkook's number and there's no way to verify. And if Jungkook does pick up, then it could be someone imitating Jungkook. But if the person calling hears vibrating, even if Jungkook doesn't pick up, the stalker knows that they got the right number. Jungkook's response is that he just blocks these people right away. People were very sad and angry that this is something that happened to Jungkook, and the fact that this stalker can just leak the number now as they please. They think that Jungkook is upset that he has no privacy. This should not be happening for him. I think the only way to avoid this is to have a phone number that is only for your close childhood friends, family, and the other BTS members. The other phone will be for staff, and then there should be no way your personal phone will get leaked. But I'm assuming he might have that. Of course, since we haven't heard of Jungkook in a little bit, what ends up happening to the Jungkook fans is that they will make their own theories as to what is going on with Jungkook, or the many ship theories of Jungkook just happen to go to the surface since there's nothing else going on. But one ship that I don't think I have ever talked about here is Rosé from BLACKPINK and Jungkook. The two, from my knowledge, haven't ever really spoken publicly, but I do personally think the boys are friends with BLACKPINK, but I just think they're friends. It was rumored that Rosé and Jungkook have been dating since 2018, and they were just keeping it quiet. It was alleged that stalkers have been following them and believe that the two are. However, there's no evidence of this other than texts that people are saying. I think a lot of times these stories come from people who would love to write a fanfic about their two favorite artists, but then don't want to clarify or forget to clarify it's a fanfic and not real. Because where are they getting this information? But there's other things like that apparently the two have posted similar posts with their hands given the peace sign, and then we have other situation that was interesting and actually went a bit more viral. The specific apartment that the BTS member live in are no secret. Fans will look at reflections from mirrors, countertops, balloons, anything to find the layout of the idol's apartment. News will often report that a member will buy an apartment in a specific neighborhood and will usually say which building. From there, you can find the blueprints of some apartments, especially if the apartment is newly bought and the public layouts are not taken down yet. But people were comparing what was believed to be Jungkook's apartment to Rosé's apartment and said that you could see a lot of similarities between the windows in that apartment and that clearly the apartment looks the same, implying that Jungkook was over at Rosé's place or vice versa. This is a very silly theory to me because there's companies that build these luxury apartment buildings. These are the developers. Usually they will have a schematic of what they want the apartment to look like, and most of the time it's one look that they recreate for all the apartments in that building. So if you buy one, there's a big chance that someone else in that building will have a similar windows or layouts to you. And then if it's the same developer working on other buildings, then they will usually keep their style on the other buildings, and that's how you know, oh, so-and-so developer also worked on this one. So first off, we don't have a tour of Jungkook's place, so a lot of that is already speculation. But even if it was correct, it's very possible for him to have a similar apartment to any other idol that also has an apartment. Let me know what you think. Make sure you check out my Patreon for more videos, link down below. We currently do have a limited $1 tier that is open. Thank you to this lovely comment right here. Love you. Bye.